Most people spend their entire lives working for money, yet very few ever learn how money actually works. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki explains why that happens and how changing the way we think about money can completely change our future. Robert grew up in Hawaii and was raised by two father figures who shaped his understanding of wealth in very different ways. His real father, whom he calls his poor dad, was an educated man, a teacher who believed in hard work, good grades, and job security. His best friend's father, his rich dad, had little formal education, but a deep understanding of how money works and how to make it grow. From these two men came two completely different views of success. Poor dad said, go to school, get good grades, and find a stable job. Rich dad said, don't work for money, learn how money works so it can work for you. This difference in thinking became the foundation of Robert's financial philosophy. As a young boy, Robert once asked his rich dad how to become rich. Instead of giving him an answer, Rich Dad made him work for free in one of his stores. After several weeks, Robert got frustrated and asked why he was not being paid. Rich Dad smiled and said, most people work for money, but very few ever learn how money works. That was Robert's first real lesson about money. Working for money creates dependency. Learning how money moves creates freedom. From that day on, Robert started seeing life differently. He noticed that poor dad often said, I can't afford it. But rich dad said, how can I afford it? One mindset closes the door, the other opens possibilities. Poor dad focused on saving money. Rich dad focused on building assets that earn even while you sleep. This led to one of the most powerful lessons in the book. Rich Dad taught Robert the difference between assets and liabilities. An asset puts money into your pocket. A liability takes money out. Poor Dad believed his home was an asset because he owned it. Rich Dad disagreed. If something costs you money every month instead of earning it, it is not an asset. This idea changed how Robert saw everything. Wealth is not about owning things. It is about owning things that pay you. Rich Dad explained that the biggest trap most people fall into is the rat race. They work hard for a paycheck, pay bills, and start all over again. They spend their lives depending on their jobs instead of building assets that can create income without constant effort. The poor and middle class work for money. The rich make money work for them. Of course, Robert's journey was not easy. He faced failure, doubt, and fear. His first businesses failed. People laughed at him for taking risks. Poor Dad advised him to find a safe job. But Rich Dad reminded him, winners are not afraid of losing, losers are. Failure is part of success. This became one of the key lessons of his life. The fear of losing money keeps most people poor. Another major idea in the book is that schools do not teach financial education. Students learn math, history, and science, but not how to manage money. Schools prepare people to work for companies, not to own them. That is why even highly educated people can struggle financially. Financial literacy is the real key to freedom. Rich Dad also taught Robert the power of corporations. The rich use corporations to protect and grow their wealth. Corporations earn, spend, and then pay taxes on what remains. Employees earn, pay taxes first, and then spend what is left. Understanding this system allows the rich to stay ahead. Financial knowledge, not luck, separates the rich from the poor. Another important principle Rich Dad shared was to work to learn, not to earn. Instead of chasing promotions or higher salaries, people should focus on learning valuable skills like marketing, investing, sales, and leadership. Those skills create opportunities that money alone cannot buy. Over time, Robert began applying these lessons. He invested in real estate, built small businesses, and kept learning through trial and error. He discovered that wealth is not measured by income, but by how long you can live without working. True wealth means freedom. It means having the time and choice to live life on your terms. By the end of the book, the difference between his two fathers becomes crystal clear. Poor Dad was intelligent, hardworking, and honest, but limited by his beliefs about money. Rich Dad was bold, curious, and willing to take risks, and that made him financially free. Poor Dad believed in education for job security. Rich Dad believed in financial education for independence. Rich Dad, Poor Dad teaches that money itself is not the goal. The real goal is freedom. Financial freedom comes from understanding how money works, building assets, and controlling fear. It is not about how much you earn, but about how you think and what you do with what you have. Robert concludes that anyone can become rich. It does not matter where you come from or how much you start with. What matters is how you think about money. The poor and middle class work for money. The rich make money work for them. Wealth begins in the mind, not in the wallet. So the lesson of Rich Dad. Poor Dad is simple, yet life-changing. Do not let money control you. Learn how to control it. Build assets, keep learning, and never be afraid to take smart risks. Because financial freedom starts with one thing that schools never teach: understanding how money really works. Really